18% of this population attended college in 2013 versus just that of 12% in 2009. Characteristics and strengths. Culture. Most individuals grow up in a two-parent household, according to Sue and Sue. In this section, the term personalismo refers to a personalized communication style that is characterized by interactions that are respectful, interdependent, and cooperative. Simpatico refers to social harmony, a graceful, hospitable, and personal atmosphere. Cultural identity and values can serve as protective factors against stress by promoting a sense of belonging, while a system of strong religious and spiritual beliefs can be nurtured as a source of strength when dealing with personal and family issues. Characteristics and strengths of Latino population, family structure. In contrast to the previous slide, the article Family Structure, Indicators on Children and Youth report most children live with one parent regardless of race or Hispanic origin. Most of these children live with their mothers. This is the same case for nearly half of all children who identify as African Americans. Specific challenges. There are several specific challenges that I'm going to talk about in this section. 1. Stigma associated with mental health. 2. Acculturation conflicts. 3. Racism and discrimination and/or oppression. 4. Linguistic issues. And 5. The issue of alcohol or drugs in this community. Those who are of the Latino community often believe that there is a stigma associated with mental health. 53% of Latina women report depressive symptoms versus that of just 37% of white women. Mexican American males and Puerto Ricans of both genders also have a high rate of weekly alcohol consumption and binge drinking. Additionally, alcoholism among these groups is likely to become chronic. Statistics such as these confirm the need for mental health support. However, the cultural stigma associated with mental health and mental illness include fearing that being on psychiatric medications can cause addiction. Therefore, it results in reluctance to receive treatment. Furthermore, a Latino immigrant is more likely than other members of the majority culture to fear embarrassment or social discrimination from family, friends, and employers if they acknowledge psychological distress. Therefore, they are more likely to experience psychological distress in forms of somatic symptoms such as a headache or backache. Acculturation conflicts. Clinicians can help counteract the stigma associated with mental health by taking the time to build rapport and provide psychoeducation about therapeutic approaches. Comas Diaz, a Puerto Rican therapist and counselor, advocates exploring clients' heritage and history of cultural translocation, their views about counseling early in the counseling session. She also encourages a flexible therapeutic style that might include the roles familiar to the client, such as healer, advisor, coach, teacher, guide, advocate, consultant, and mentor. As with many ethnic minority groups, Latinos are frequently faced with societal values that are distinctly different from their own. Additionally, severing ties to their family and friends, the loss of supportive resources, language inadequacy, and unemployment and cultural conflicts all function as a source of recent stressors for immigrants. This is still with acculturation. The client's degree of acculturation has important implications for treatment, especially during initial therapy sessions, and can influence both perceptions of and responses to counseling. For example, individuals with minimal acculturation may have difficulty in being open and self-disclosing, or discussing their issues in depth, and may believe counseling will only take one session. Acculturation can be assessed by inquiring about the client's background, generational status, residential history, reasons for immigration, their primary language, religious orientation, and strengths of religious beliefs, extent of support from extended family and friends, and factors related to acculturation. The therapist then needs to determine the client's degree of adherence to both traditional values and those values of the majority culture. Ethnic identities should be recognized and incorporated during assessment and treatment of youth and adults. Conflicts between mainstream values and ethnic groups' values can be discussed, and the client and counselor can help brainstorm methods for bridging these differences. Counselors should also inquire about potential acculturation conflicts, including the impact of client symptoms on family conflict. Although values such as familismo can be a source of strength for youth, distress may feel unbearable when there is parent or child discord. We are on the bullet of racism and discrimination and/or oppression if you are following along. Racism and discrimination and/or oppression. Stressors of racism and discrimination can lead to emotional difficulties, particularly when combined with acculturation conflicts. Latino adolescents are particularly vulnerable to the effects of acculturation conflicts and societal racism. Perceived discrimination among Mexican American adolescents increased psychological distress and behaviors such as drug use, fights, and sexual promiscuity. Clinicians must not only assess these intrapsychic issues, but also the degree to which external conditions are involved in mental health issues. Thus, it is important to be sensitive to socio-political issues that the client experiences with disenfranchisement and discrimination. Linguistic issues. Considerable evidence suggests that assessment results can influence linguistic differences or misunderstandings. Assessment should always be conducted in the primary language of the client and interpreted within a socio-political context. Another problem presented to this population is the abuse of alcohol and drugs, as mentioned earlier. According to Torres Riviera in 2004, Latinos have the third highest percentage of illicit drug use and the second highest percentage of alcohol use in the total U.S. population. Stereotypes. According to the following webpage, 10 Latino stereotypes we've heard all of our lives that are completely false. The following 3 stereotypes were listed on the webpage as being the most prevalent. 1. All Latinos are hot-headed. 2. All Latinos have big families. 3. All Latinos are great cooks. Now that you understand some of the stereotypes, let us demystify those stereotypes by watching the clip. If you cannot click on the link, or the link does not take you to the video, type into the YouTube browser, Latino, how you see me. Misconceptions. Many undocumented Latinos overutilize public benefits. That is misconception number 1. Misconception number 2, most undocumented Latinos cross the border illegally. 3, Hispanics and Latinos are a single race. 4, undocumented Latino immigrants do not pay taxes. The truth is that many undocumented immigrants are not eligible for benefits such as food stamps and/or Medicaid, and legal immigrants are not either. In fact, allowing some undocumented immigrants to work legally would financially benefit the United States by reducing the deficit to about $175 billion in the first 10 years. The next misconception is that most undocumented immigrants cross the border illegally. The truth is most immigrants are here legally, up to 75%. Of those who are not here legally, most enter the country legally and then let their visas expire. Undocumented immigrants are estimated to be less than 2% of the population. The next misconception is that Hispanics and Latinos are a single race. The fact that being Hispanic or Latino is not a racial category. A Latino or Hispanic person can be white, black, or even Asian. Being Latino or Hispanic usually refers to a cultural distinction to those whose country of origin is Latin American. The fourth misconception is that undocumented immigrants do not pay taxes. The truth is that undocumented immigrants pay between $90 billion and $140 billion in federal, state, and local taxes each year. Immigrants also pay sales tax and provide affordable labor for many of our nation's small businesses. Counseling dues. According to the book, Counseling and Family Therapy with Latino Populations, Strategies That Work, the practitioner must become an essential part of the family to effectively engage their client in the counseling practice. The counselor who is working with a Latino client must first gain the respect of the family so that counseling may continue. Slide 18, Counseling Don'ts. Do not use an individualistic approach with this population. Do not discount the wisdom of an older, wiser family member, as this may serve beneficial in assisting the client to reach their own individual thought process. Instead, use family members' wisdom as a source of guidance and strength for the individual who is in counseling. All right, so those are my references. I have included 2 books as noted. The first is Smith, and that book is Counseling and Family Therapy with Latino Populations. And the second one is Sue and Sue as required. I have a couple PDFs listed And then I also did include the last reference, which was from a